Okay, good morning. We're up to Siman Reish Ayin Gimel Seif Beis. We're talking about Kiddush Mokum Suda. Says the Machaba in Seif Beis. In Kiddush Bebayis Echad, Amanas Lechel Sham, V'ach Kach Nimlach Lechel Mokum Acher, Tzorech Lachsav Lekadish Mokum Sheretz Lechel Sham. So a person made Kiddush in house A, or we'll see in the Mishnah Berurah soon, even in room A, and he was planning on having Kiddush there. And then he changes his mind, and he decides to eat in a second location. So then, he's got to make Kiddush again in the new location, because the new location will, you need Kiddush Mokum Suda, and if you didn't have a Suda in the first location, then it wasn't a good Kiddush. So therefore, you've got to make Kiddush again in the second location. It says the Mishnah Berurah, V'lo ochel kan kazayis, and he changed his mind and he didn't eat a kazayis. But if in the first location he made Kiddush and he had a kazayis, he had a rogalech or something, because of the kam b'sifei, then you're okay. But mokum acher, so if he changed his mind to go to another place, what is another place? It says the Mishnah Berurah, even another room in the same house, since he didn't intend to have his Suda there, and then after making Kiddush he goes to another place, even another room, says the Mishnah Berurah, then it's not considered Kiddush Mokum Suda. Now in 11, he notes something very interesting. He says, when it comes to Hilchos Brachas, if I'm eating an apple, let's say, in one room, and then I go to another room, I want to continue eating the apple, I don't need to make a new bracha in the second room. Is this considered the shinui mokum? Well, it's generally one room to the next, therefore it's a sofik, and sofik brachas lahakel. We don't make a new bracha. V'kan, but here we've said that you got to make kiddush again. V'kan lo helkil midin sofik brachas. Why is that? You see that Kiddush Mokum Suda has a higher standard. It's more chamur than the bracha of shinui mokum. Mishum shemitzarfin es shitz hamagid mishnah b'das harambam shechelek din shinui mokum midin Kiddush Mokum Suda. The two are different. The din of shinui mokum and the din of Kiddush Mokum Suda have slightly different rules, and therefore that we are stricter when it comes to Kiddush Mokum Suda. Okay, good. Sif Gimel. Im Kiddush v'lo so'ad. A person made Kiddush and did not eat anything. After they Kiddush lo yotza. So that's the rule. A guy made Kiddush, he didn't eat anything. That's not called a Kiddush. Inherent in Kiddush is it has to be b'mokum suda. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Katan Daled. Let's just do the Mishnah Berurah on that bit. After they Kiddush lo yotza. So Kamash Malan, the Kiddush is the lo yitei medafke im reitz lechol b'mokum acher hu de lo mahani Kiddush lahatze lo b'achila. I might have said, when does the Kiddush not work? When I intended to eat in another place. Kiddush Mokum Suda, because I didn't make Kiddush in a place where I'm going to have the Suda. But if I wasn't intending to eat anyway, Yotzal Kol Ponim Yedei Kiddush Kamash Malan, that I might have thought that maybe it would work, because I wasn't planning on eating anyway. Kamash Malan, if you have a Kiddush without a Suda, that is not considered Kiddush. End of story. Now, the question is, what if a person can't eat? Has he still got a chiyuv to make Kiddush? Yeah, well, how does that work? You have a person is not well, or a person never has got any food. So what happens? You have to still have a chiyuv to make Kiddush. In other words, is it shaykh Kiddush when you don't have a suda? Or you can't have a suda? So if you look at the footnote 12 in the second paragraph, mitam zeh, adam she'eni yochel lechel klal. A person for some reason can't eat. Kosu b'shal shuvas minchas yitzchak she'eni chayv b'kiddush. In other words, if he can't eat, there's no separate chiluk, separate chiyuv, to make Kiddush. V'chein kos b'shal shuvas ardet tzion, she'odem she'eni yochel echel kazayis, oichel v'lelishas, he can't eat and he can't drink, a revius of wine, yismech al Kiddush omer tefillah, he should be semech on that. And in fact, that's exactly what we do on Yom Kippur. Just been, literally, 2 days ago, that Yom Kippur falls on a Shabbos. So really, when you said Mekadesh Yom Kippurim, Mekadesh HaShabbos Yom Kippurim, you should have in mind that you'd be Mekadesh, that is the din Kiddush, because it's not shaykh to eat or to drink. And then he adds in, Rachmon Litzlan, if a person can't eat, the next paragraph, the person is getting, is being fed through a tube or something. That's not considered eating, and therefore you haven't got a chiyuv Kiddush. That's not considered eating. Yeah, you have such a situation, sadly. V'im kol mazono, next thing, who midvar m'shem ein b'm kviyas suda. What if all you can eat are vegetables? That's all you've got are vegetables. Then das chaznish shechayev b'kiddush mishum shezehu mazono v'yishma kiddush me'acher. You can't drink the wine because for whatever reason you've got a diet. This is all you can eat. So then, hear Kiddush from somebody else, he'll drink the reverse of wine, and you'll have it, for you, this is your mazonos, this is your suda. Okay, good, let's carry on. Says the Ramah, V'tzorech lechol b'makom Kiddush la'alta. When it's Kiddush makom suda literally means now, straight away. At least you've got to have the intention to eat straight away. If you have too much of a gap between the kiddush and the eating, even if you later eat at that place where you made kiddush, that doesn't help. So kiddush makom suda means straight away. La alta says the Mishnah Berurah on that. Yud beis la alta v'lo yafsik afilu zman kotze. You shouldn't have even a short gap. What's a short gap? So if you look at 13. It says shir zman kotz alone is parish. It's not clear. But say the Yavitz, he says very short. Kadei shir hilachov beis amas. The time it takes to walk 22 amas, which is not very long, right? To walk from here to the end of the Beis Medrash is not very long. Meidach das hagon nissen kalaretz. Sheshir nechsheves hefsek rak b'shir sheyesh bo hesach hadas. It's a slightly longer time. It's a hesach hadas. So you want to sit there for a few moments, for a few minutes. And there's you're still thinking about Kiddush and you're getting the herring and the crackers together, that would be okay. For Das Hagoner B'l Yashuv is Shekol Ponim Muta, Al Kol Ponim Muta Lishas Dakas Muata has been a Kiddush Surah. Okay, a few moments in between is okay. Now, you're going to ask, what about Seder night? Kiddush Mokum Suda, you've got a major gap between the Suda. So they asked that question to Shlomo Zalman. If you look at the next paragraph, in Leil Seder Shemarichin Harbe, there's a big gap between the Kiddush and the Suda. With the saying the Haggadah, Das Hagonim Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Shekiven Shekachu Takonos Chachamim Heim Romer Shaf Nechshav Kiddush Makom Suda. Who are the people who said the rule of Kiddush Makom Suda? The rabbis, Chazal. Well, the same rabbis are aware that you say Magid in between Kiddush and the meal and Shulchan Aruch, and therefore they didn't impose it in that situation. Alternatively, you can also say Shekiven Shemechayev Amiris Haggadah Nechsheves Amirosa Katzor Chisuda. It's considered like a tzorich of the Suda anyway. So you can't get you've got a chiyuv now of Magid, so therefore it's a tzorich Suda. Okay, let's carry on the Mishnah Berurah. We're in Yud Beis. Kosav b'shari knes sagdola. For some reason, you're in the middle of Kiddush, and you got up and you went outside. Just because you went outside, you don't have to make Kiddush again. Because at the end of the day, the Suda was in the place of Kiddush. Ein Sham. If you went out to the bathroom, in between Kiddush and your Suda, that's okay. We're not machmir, you need to make Kiddush again. Okay, Yud Gimel. This is still in the Ramah. So we said you should make Kiddush la'alta, or at least have in mind you're going to eat straight away. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Yud Gimel, Miloshen oy mavua de meikar le midi, le mairi, kashay bedaita beferish b'shas Kiddush le'echol la'alta ele bestama. Which is mashma in the beginning, you didn't have a sort of specific kavana that you're going to eat straight away. Then, if you do eat straight away, you're yotza. You don't need specific intent. In other words, you're just thinking Kiddush, you're thinking, gosh, those rogalach look great. That's okay. Even though you weren't thinking you're going to eat straight away. And then it's saying that if you have specific intention to eat straight away, since you intended specifically to eat straight away, and then something happened which delayed you, gam kein yotza, then you're yotza. V'im yotza gam kein b'tamin. If you went out in between das kam achronim shetzorich lachsav lekadesh, then you need to be mekayim, you need to make kiddush again, because after all it wasn't kiddush makom suda. V'hu adin kashay traklin godel. If you got a very large room, a massive banqueting suite, v'halach mipin lepin, you went from one end to the other, lechol sham, aysh kiddush b'ched zel manas lechol b'ched acher. You went from the ground floor to the loft. And because the travel itself takes time, that's the Kiddush. That even though you go from one corner to the other corner, you go from one room to upstairs, then ein tzorech lachsav l'Kiddush. B'lav hachi, the Ramah said, then afilu b'mokum Kiddush ein yotze, because otherwise, if there's too long a gap between your Kiddush and the Suda, then you've got a problem. Says the Mishnah Berurah Yudalet, Hainu shelohi sedai telechol miyad. You intended to do something else, to finish off your Tehillim, or to read something in between. Even if it wasn't your fault, even though half an hour later you ended up eating at the place where you initially made Kiddush, lo yotza, because there was too much of a gap between the Kiddush and the Suda. If it's Surach the Kiddush, then it's okay. So for example, you had Kiddush and then you went to get a plate and get a knife and a fork, or get the kichels or cake or something, then that would not be considered the hefsek. Okay, now the Ramah finishes off and says, what if you were standing at the Kiddush and you said, you know what, I'm not going to eat now. I'm going to watch my waist and I'm going to go home and I'll make Kiddush there because I'm eating anyway there. And then you succumb to temptation. The roglach looked too good. You change your mind. Is that okay? So he says, Yotza. It's considered Kiddush Makom Suda. Says Mishmur Tezvav, Sham Miyad, Pirush, Mitchilash, Kiddush Hoy Bedaita Shlo Lechol, Klal, Adach Azman, V'gam Zeh, Hoy Bedaita Gam Ken Shlo Lechol, Bebai Zeh, El Bebai Zachei. I plan to eat at home. The Mikal Malcolm, Kivin Sha'acha Kach Nimlech V'achol Miyad, B'makam HaKiddush, Ein Tzorach Lachsav L'Kaddush. You don't need to make Kiddush again. Okay, you can, fine. Let's just do Dalit. Yochel Adam L'Kaddush La'acherim, a person can make Kiddush for other people, Afal Pisha Eino Eichel L'Mohem, even though he's not planning on eating with them, that it do have a Mokum Suda, because for them it's Mokum Suda. So very interesting. You got people, let's say you got guests, and you want to be motzi them. So long as they're eating, for them it's considered Kiddush Mokum Suda. That works. It's a valid Kiddush. When it comes to Birchas HaNenin, and if I want to drink a glass of wine, and I don't want to drink it, I just want to make a Ber Gofen to be motzi you, but I'm not planning on drinking, that doesn't help. I've got to actually drink. Then it doesn't help. However, Kiddush is different. Why? Given the high Ber Gofen who chover Kiddush. This Ber Gofen is a Birchas HaMitzvah. It's a chayva for Kiddush. Kiddush hayom dami. For yochel etziyam afal pi she'einen, and therefore I can make a ber pragofen and be motzi them even though I'm not partaking of the wine. Says the Ramah, afilu b'kiddush al yom b'shachris b'Shabbos mutalasus kain. It works even on Shabbos morning. We'll see the Mishnah Berurah what's the Kiddush. For hu she'enim yodim, and that's if they don't know how to make Kiddush. Because if they know how to make Kiddush, better that they do it. And if I haven't yet made Kiddush, you've got to be careful. Then you've got to be careful because you could only make Kiddush in the Mokum Suda. Let's see the detail. It says the Mishnah Berurah, Tes Zayin, L'Kaddish Lachem. So I'm making Kiddush for other people. V'uadin, the L'Ktanim mutar L'Kaddish Afal Pi she'eino oichel l'mohem. Very interesting. I can make Kiddush for Ktanim even though I'm not eating for them. He says in the footnote it's age 6 or 7 is the chinuch age for Kiddush. Because the kids themselves may not know how to make Kiddush themselves. But if they know how to make it, let the kid make Kiddush themselves. Imohem, even though I'm not eating with them, Yud Zayin, even if I was Yotze. So it's very interesting. Look at 19. Isha Kosav Le'el She'echol L'Hotzi Acherim. A woman as well can be motzi other people if she has not yet been Yotze. Even if she has been Yotze. Af Shekva Yotza. Or B'Shat Tzion She'av Hanoshim B'chlal Arvusein. Yeah, because they also Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. Why can I make Kiddush for somebody else who hasn't heard? Because of Arvus. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh, and a woman is included in that. Okay, back to the Mishnah Berurah Yudches Imohem Dekaimelon. Kol birchas hanenin ein other motzias chaverim hu atzma in nen oz. If I want to have, if I want to be motzi you and your cup of coffee, I can't just say shahakol be motzi you. I can only do it if I'm getting hana from making a shahakol. Rak, but carries on the Mishnah Berurah. Rak b'dov shu chayv k'goin kiddush v'chayetzi by all the motzi chaveru. Ch'mavu hakol b'sim kuf samasayin siv tes v'chof. Yutes v'afilu rotzalema. After Shom Kol Kiddush Rak Ber Pragofen, even on Shabbos morning, this works. What's the Kiddush? Even though then on Shabbos morning, all you need to say is Ber Pragofen, Mikol Malkum Kiven Di Mitzvah, since I'm making this berber gofen als mitzvah v'koren niskan shelo b'shvil hana el a mitzvah alav kasha mitzvahs mishum hachi moitzi acherim af al pi she'ein nena. I can be moitzi somebody else even though I'm not drinking the wine. So if I'm being moitzi somebody else, I don't need to drink the wine. I can make the kiddush as long as they drink the wine and they're having some rogalach or some cake or whatever. That's okay. Kiddush halayla. And it's different to birchas hamotzi of any of the three meals. To einer moitzi meina eichel imoim. There, if I'm not eating of the challah, I can't be moitzi them. I can't make a hamotzi and then let them eat the challah, because I've got to eat the challah with them. The af shem chayv, even though there's a chayv kid, there's a chayv hamotzi, there's a chayv suda, ein hachayv alav mishum mitzvah. It's not considered the same status of mitzvah and a kadesh yehana b'sudas Shabbos, but rather that I should enjoy a sudas Shabbos. That's why I'm doing it. Ve'ein la mitzvah atzma chayv, and therefore there's no mitzvah itself. It's not a chayv as opposed to the kiddush. That if I'm misane, let's say I'm fasting, a person can't fast on Shabbos. If we have a tanis chalom or something, then ein tzorach lechol kadisa b'siman reish meches al kein ein moitzi acherim ein oichel imoim. Therefore, I can't be moitzi if I'm not eating. So kiddush I can be moitzi even if I'm not eating. Masha ein kein hamoitzi. V'im kiddush ala pas. If you're making kiddush on bread, oz moitzi gam b'richas hamoitzi. Ta'ai b'richas hamoitzi k'b'richas b'bragov and a kiddush hayayin damya. But in a situation where I'm making kiddush on bread, then it's got the same status of wine, and I can be moitzi even though I'm not eating. That's only if they don't know how to. Now here comes a very important halacha. The im yoidim lekadish ba'atzman, because if they know how to make kiddush themselves, einu yochel lotzim b'kiddush eloi, imenu yotzi oz ba'atzman b'kiddush. Because if they know how to themselves, then strictly speaking, I can only be motzi them if I am being yotzi myself. Now that's quite an important point. If you look at 26. I don't know about you guys, but for me that's quite a common occurrence. I'm making kiddush, even though I've made kiddush, for other people who have not heard. Even though the Maisa Berber Gofen is a Birchas Anenin, Kivin Shekola Kiddush who Birchas Alayayin, or Bezesh Shavim Heim, the Siyam Sham Shekein Nagula Lamaisa. And Lamaisa, therefore, if the other people have not yet heard Kiddush and I'm being moitzi them, better they make Kiddush for themselves, but if not, I can be moitzi them. And Lamaisa, that's what we're knowing to do, that I can be moitzi them, even though I've heard Kiddush, I can be moitzi them. Of a Sefer Arts as a Chaim, Simon Ches, Masik Gam Kain, the Medina Yochel Haitzi Bechol Gavni, Aflachat Chila, Mitzvah Shikadish Ba'azma Kimishu Baki, even though the better thing to do is for them to make it themselves. For Gam Chaveru HaMoitzi Ein Yotzi Ata B'Kiddush. For Isha Almona, if you have a woman, an Almona, let's say she doesn't know how to make kiddush. She can't sort of come into you, hear kiddush, and then go home and have her lunch because it's not a kiddush mokum suda. Better that you go to her and make kiddush in her house, and then it'll be a kiddush mokum suda. Even though I'm not going to have, even though I'm not being yotze with kiddush. But for her, it's Kiddush Malkum Suda. That's the way to do it. Just very quickly, in 27, what about Tekiyah Shofar? With regard to the brachas of Tekiyah Shofar, the minhag ha'olam is that the person, the Baal Tokea, makes the brachas. But strictly speaking, they should try and make the brachas themselves. But in most situations, that's not done. And if they can't, then you should be making the brachas. So what comes out is, when you to be moitzi other people when it comes to Kiddush, better to get them to make Kiddush, and if for whatever reason it's uncomfortable, or they don't want to, or they're not able to, then you can be moitzi them, no problem. Seder, and you don't actually have to drink, so long as they're drinking, then that would suffice.
And for kids as well, I assume.
For kids as well, the better they make Kiddush themselves, but the Kiddush is that even if you've got kids who are age of Chinuch, age 6 or 7, then you can make Kiddush for them, even though you've heard, because you're doing it for the mitzvah of Chinuch, and they drink, and that would be sufficient.